Good morning, boys and girls. I always wanted to say that. Today, we're going to be working on the brakes here. Have you ever had one of those projects that every time you fix one thing, something else goes wrong? Well, that's kind of what's happening here. And I've had some trouble with the audio, so there's some more that's going wrong. But I've had some trouble with the audio on this particular video when I fixed this particular brake. And so I'm going to try my best to narrate it, and so if my mouth's moving and the words are different, that's probably going to be the reason why. But this is the story here. I was going to do the getting her started after being sitting for 5 years, and I was getting ready to do that, and I looked down and there's a big old puddle on the floor. So I said, well, gotta fix her. So I fixed her. Started pumping up the brakes. Got, oh, good pedal. Look over, puddle on that side. Looked it up, it was lifetime warranty, so I called, get another one coming, got that one fixed. Well, guess what? Got them both fixed. And now, the one in the back is leaking. Gotcha, right? So anyway, this video is this brake. Okay, I'm going to show you how to gravity bleed. A lot of people don't know how to gravity bleed. I'm lazy. I got so many things going on. I'm doing 10 different things at once. So to sit there, and I don't usually have help. So to sit there and have somebody else pump the brakes while I open and close and open and close, yes, not happening. I don't have anybody to help me. And what if I do it? Yeah, we just don't, because everybody else is busy too. The other way is I have a little vacuum pump, and you can put that on there, suck all that fluid out and through. And that gets pretty good results too, but you got to sit here and you got a hand pump. I've got a regular pump too, but that takes forever as well. So what I do is, and you'll see this in the video, is I just crack the bleeder loose and walk away. And it takes a long time. Sometimes it won't even drip for, 8 hours. But you don't have to worry about it because it's a real slow process. So what I'll usually do is I'll just crack that open, let it drip, and you'll see that in the video. And I'll let it drip and come back, check the reservoir, fill it back up. Usually I'll go about halfway down on the reservoir, because you figure while gravity is coming down, it's filling that caliper up. Okay, and as long as your master cylinder is higher, it's going to work. And it'll fill it up. And once it's full, it's going to fill it very slowly. Once it's full, then it's going to start dripping out. So it really won't even drip out until it's full. And there's not really any air there at that point. So that's a very long process. If you've got a day where you don't need the car, you got it just sitting on jack stands or on a lift or whatever, you can do that. You can gravity bleed it. So I'll just open that up, walk away, work on some other projects, and come back every couple of hours and check on it. I've actually forgot the bleeder on the other side. I actually forgot the bleeder open overnight. And came back in, and it was just barely had dripped. I just so I wouldn't make a mess, I put a little hose in a can, and so I did put maybe this much in the can, and it was a small can, and closed it off because I just remembered it was like early morning, like, oh shoot, I left it open. So I ran out here and I shut that, checked it later, and the reservoir had only gone down 1/8 of an inch or so, 1/4 inch, and so it was no big deal. And so I came back the next week. I opened her up again for a few hours just to see. She leaked quite a bit more fluid that time because she was already full. Locked her down, pumped her up. Everything was good until I noticed the back wheel leaking. So anyway, that's one of these projects. She's been sitting for a long time, can't blame her. We've changed a lot of things on this car, but I promise you, we are going to do the getting her started after sitting for 5 years video. That's coming up if I can ever get all the brakes working. So now I'm going to have to order one for the back and get that one finished, and I'll spare you guys on that one. There's no sense in watching 2 brake videos. But this video is going to be just this brake, and I'm done talking now because I'm sure you're tired of my little narration. But we're just going to see how nice and pretty and red that is. Can you see that? Okay, maybe we'll get you a little look-see. Here's going to be some of that weird, my mouth is moving but things aren't coming out right kind of video. I'm narrating this, so bear with me. If things seem a little bit off, it's probably because I'm trying to narrate this as it's happening. But as you can see, I got this nice shiny red brake caliper, but it's leaking, so it's got to come off, and we're going to go ahead and replace it. I've replaced all of these at one point in time in this car, so they're going to be lifetime warranty. It's definitely one of those things that every time I buy something, especially a wear item like that, that's going to eventually wear out, and if I plan on keeping that car for any length of time, I'll always try to get the lifetime warranty, because that just seems to work out best for me. So that's what we're doing here. We're just going to pull this towards me, and well, of course the steering's locked, so we'll have to go back around the other side and get the steering unlocked so that I can pull this towards me and access everything. I like to use a side cutter to pull the carter pins out. It just seems to be able to grab a hold of it real good, and that way, if you try to use needle nose or any other kind of plier, you can sit there and fumble with it. Some parts will be a little easier, but when it comes to grabbing the end of that thing and prying it out of there, them side cutters can do a real good job of snagging onto her. So I pull the carter pin out with the side cutters, and of course always use the proper tool for the job to hammer that pin out of there. And then when it doesn't want to come out, you just use that side cutter to grab a hold of the head on that thing and pry her on out of there. Again, side cutters, even though kind of using them for hammers not the right way to do things, it works, and it saves you from having to walk back to the toolbox and have to go get a hammer. So I don't recommend using your side cutters for a hammer, but on something small like this, it works, and they're lifetime warranty. So there you go. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop these brake pads right out of here. And again, we can use the side cutters, grab a hold. There you go. Woo! She's out. Look at that. That pad's not bad, so we'll probably reuse that one. And then pull the other one out, and yeehaw, there she is. So easy peasy. Whoop! Don't drop it on the floor. But yeah, just shake the dirt off of there. Yeah, we're good to go. Look at there. Ah, got it. So that's all we got to do. Spin this baby around just for effect, and that's it. Now it's time to get out the old stun gun here and zing these two big bolts on the back side of the caliper off. And make sure you get straight up on that nut, because if you don't, you're going to strip her out. If you're using a ratchet, not as much possibility of damage, but if you're using the old stun gun, you'll mess them up if you don't keep that on there straight. So and there's some more of that whole mouth moving and words are different, which just make believe you're watching one of those Godzilla movies from way back when the mouth's moving and the words are kind of not matching up. We'll just kind of figure that out. But just make believe you're watching Godzilla with like some little white boy instead of Godzilla. But anyway, just kind of showing you how to zing that off of there. We get that one off, and I have no idea what I'm saying in this video, but it has something to do with taking the brake caliper off and using a pneumatic instead of a ratchet. It just makes life a little easier if you can get it in there, but no, don't worry if you just have a regular ratchet to work with, and that works just fine. So anyway, we're going to get this other one. Sorry about the lighting there. It looks a little bright, but there's a bolt there, I promise. And you just zing that baby off of there, set it up out of the way, and just going to grab a hold of this here caliper and pop her off, and that's going to pretty much be the end of that part of it anyway. And just set her aside, find a safe place to stick it, and then we're going to have to worry about getting the line. And yeah, as you can see, she's dripping. I got my hands dirty. Oh my gosh, I got my hands dirty. But anyway, here we go. I have no idea what I'm saying here, but something to do with it leaking and getting ready to pull that line off of there. Here's the tricky part, is just trying to get this caliper off of there, because on this particular car the line doesn't have a swivel on it, so you have to actually swivel the caliper. You could take it off at the other end and then just take it off that way, but I didn't want to mess with all that, so I just sit here and twist the caliper off, and that works just fine. And so you twist that baby off like that, as you can see I'm doing. You're going to kind of hold on to the line and keep on turning, and she'll eventually pop on off of there. And I usually, of course, if you look at the video, it looks like forever, but you see there's no fluid coming out, so I didn't have to hurry as much as usual. Usually I'll try to grab, I always have them right near there, and I have the other caliper sitting right here below me, but I try to get that on as quick as possible so I don't lose a whole lot of fluid. But in this case it's not dripping, so I'm kind of taking my sweet time. But here's the new one. As you can see, it's kind of a shiny metallic color as opposed to red, so we'll have to fix that later. But for right now, we're just going to go ahead and here's the hardest part, is actually getting that line started. You got to kind of find the right end, which end is up, get it started up in that little hole there, and you got to twist this whole big awkward caliper until it gets on the line. So this is a wee bit tricky, but you can get it. It's not that bad. So forgive me if my body's kind of getting in the way of the video, but you can see me struggling there, and you can see me turning. There we go. We got her caught. Start twisting on her. Get her twisted down until she's snugged up a little bit there just by hand. And then once I get her snugged up, I'll just get my 5/8 wrench, crack that line loose, and reverse that. Tighten that line. Tighten the line up. There's my wrench. Tighten the line up, and voila. Here I put 2 C-clamps on the brake pads to hold them in, to hold the pistons in on the caliper. And so now I'm just going to kind of slide her in there. You're going to have to maybe press her with your fingers a little bit to get her in there. But, you know, in this particular caliper, sometimes you can push them in with your hand and get the caliper on there. And in this particular case, I couldn't. So I had to use some C-clamps to go ahead and get her tightened up in there. So now once you get those pulled back enough to where you can slide her over the caliper, you just kind of work her on there. And it's not always an easy task. Sometimes you got to struggle a little bit. But there she's... might have to struggle a little bit, but once you get her, there you go. You got to get the clamps up out of the way. And once you get that last clamp out, all you got to do, slide her on there. And that's it. Yeehaw! So now we're just going to go ahead and put the bolts in, button her up. Okay, this is the part I was telling you about with the gravity bleeding. But the number one rule of the gravity bleeding is to make sure you've got enough fluid in the reservoir. So number one thing before you start to bleed is just check your reservoir. Make sure you've got enough fluids in the reservoir, and then that's when you'll start your gravity bleed. So as you can see here, it was getting pretty low because the rubbers kind of come out, that little diaphragm that comes out as it gets lower. So as you can see, it's a little bit low. So I'm going to go ahead and add some before we get started. And once we get started, and once we get the reservoir full, we'll start it up and we'll let her drip. And that is going to be that. Then just open up the bleeder and let her drip. Once you start to get a steady drip, as you can see here, I'm getting a nice steady drip. And that's pretty much all there is to gravity bleeding. Now this took a few hours, what you didn't see in the video. It's taken a few hours. But once you start to get a steady drip like that, you're pretty much done. Just close the bleeder. I hope that wasn't too god-awful weird, me trying to narrate while the video was going on. It's my first time trying it, so if it's a little cattywampus, I apologize. But hey, I tried my best. It's sure better than just running music through the whole thing, because I knew with the gravity bleeding, y'all would want some kind of explanation on how that worked. And I like doing it that way, unless I've got to get a job out the door in a hurry. That's how I do it. And if you work alone like I do most of the time, it's a great way to do things. Sometimes like in this video, you'll see she actually started dripping in just a couple of hours. When I did the other side, and that's the one I actually forgot to bleed her open, it took all night because it was, mosquito. Some of them just take a long time. Sometimes you can close the bleeder, pump it a few times, kind of get it circulating in through there, and that helps too. But in reality, gravity bleeding is easy peasy. You crack that baby open, and just let it sit. And it's not hard. And just let her go until she starts dripping steady. Keep an eye on that. I keep using this hand to talk with, but the video's backwards. I'm actually standing with the tire to my left, but in the video, it's on the right. It's just really weird kind of looking at yourself on the video on the opposite side that you really are. But anyway, my own little freaking out here. But anyway, there you go. That's the end of it. Gravity bleed, change the caliper. Now I got one more to go. Hopefully not two more. One more, I hope. But at least all the brakes will be new. All the calipers will be new. And then I promise we are going to do the getting this thing started after sitting a while. She's been sitting about 5 years, I guess. So I promise that video's coming. I've got a few other projects I got to kind of finish up before I get to it. Hopefully the next time I post a video, it is going to be the startup one. And once we do get her to start up, then I've got a bunch of pulley configurations. I'll show you in the video there. I've actually got a bunch of stuff it's been like that for years, but I've just got kind of like the alternators rigged up kind of weird, and the alternator is where it was on the small block before I put the big block in, and it's supposed to be on the other side up top. So we're going to move all that around. I'm going to put some bling bling in there. So bear with me, and I promise this startup video is coming with a few modifications to the chain. I thought about even putting serpentine because I've got a little LT1 out of a vet. I thought about a newer vet. I thought about putting on there. Yeah, I'm just gonna go old school on this one. Keep her old school, and then we're gonna try out that new 4-speed we put in there. So stay tuned. Here we go. Do me a favor, subscribe. I could use some subscribers. I know I'm kind of new. But I promise you, I'll try not to bore you, and I'm going to stop talking now because that might be boring you. I know sometimes when I watch videos and the guy's going, all right, letting you go. Take it easy. Love you. Bye.